Hey guys, welcome back. This is Joel. So in the previous video, we talked about using Duo for SSL ASA VPN authentication, right? Um, and we looked at one of the methods, right? We looked at LDAP. So let me go back to that documentation. So these are all the different ways available. So you can see literally there are 4 different ways here with ASA itself, right? We have 4 different ways. We looked at ASA SSL VPN using LDAPs, right, in the previous video. Let me actually point you to the previous video as well, right? So this was the last video, Duo LDAP authentication for Cisco ASA SSL VPN, right? So this is going to be a continuation of this, which means I'm not going to again go and configure the VPN, right? You can refer to the previous video for the VPN configuration, but we are going to do the Duo part in this video, right? So we did using LDAP in the previous video. In this video, we are going to try doing the same thing, but using what? Radius, right? So that's our goal. Now let's again, as usual, do it step by step, as mentioned in the, procedure here in the documentation, right? So this is the flow chart. This is what we are going to achieve. Wait, did I open the, okay, not this one. Let's open the other doc. Yeah, this one. So this is what we are going to do. Let's look at the flow chart, maybe, which is generally at the bottom. Yeah, here you go. So we are going to have the user, right, connect to the Anyconnect client, right? This is just going to be only for Anyconnect. It's not going to be for SSL. It's not going to be for clientless, right? It's going to be for only for Anyconnect client VPN, right? So the user is going to try to log in. He's going to put in the username and he's going to put the password. So the primary authentication will be username and password as mentioned or as present in the Active Directory. So right, so we are going to have an Active Directory. I'll show you in my topology. I've added that. See here, I've added the Active Directory. This was not there in the previous video. I've added the new Active Directory here. So the username and password will be the one which is there in the Active Directory. So once you provide that username, it will go to the ASA. The ASA will then redirect it right to the proxy, or will send this information to the proxy, right? I mean, technically I can even directly send it to the Radius and get it authenticated and make the ASA then reach out to the Duo, right? That is kind of like what we did in the previous video using LDAP, right? But if your business doesn't need that, right? If your business needs in a different way, right? If it needs something like this, maybe your ASA doesn't have internet connectivity, right? Something like that, right? So in that case, you can use this approach where the primary authentication will be done using the Radius, right? But the central piece to the whole puzzle is this authentication proxy. So there is a proxy which is going to sit in line between the ASA and it's sit in line so that any authentication request which your ASA receives, right, they are forwarded to the proxy, and the proxy for the primary authentication, it will reach out to the Radius and it will check if the user has entered the correct username password. If that is correct, then it will then send out a request to the Duo cloud, right, for the MFA, right? So the MFA will then excuse me, the MFA will then obviously send the push notification or a SMS or whatever it is, right, as a multi-factor authentication to the phone, and the phone, once you approve it, then all the way back the ASA is going to allow the user in, right? So this is slightly different from what we did in the previous one, because in the previous we used LDAP. Here we are using an extra piece called authentication proxy, and that is going to kind of like control the whole flow, right? So that means, let's go top, let's start with the step. So the step number 1, it's basically nothing but install the authentication proxy, right? That's the first step. So you can download, you have different versions. You can do it for, you have authentication proxies for Windows, you have it for Linux, right? You can install it in either of the platforms. And then there are different versions as well here. If you're using, just remember, if you're using a 32-bit machine, then stick to authentication proxy which is less than version 402, right? If your Windows is 32-bit machine, if it is 64-bit machine, then you can go with the latest one, right? In my case, the bad luck is that I'm using a 32-bit machine, so I already had downloaded a different version. So we could probably, let me quickly go there, right? So let's go to the downloads. Yeah, there you go. So this is I have a 3.2.4 version running, downloaded. So I'm going to install that, right? So let's double click on it. Pretty straightforward. It's an exe file, so it's very simple to install. Again, like I said, you can install this in different platforms, Linux as well, not just Windows, right? So let's close that. it's installed. Now once you install it, you can probably go to your services and you should start seeing it there, right? So go to services here and you see the DUO proxy here, right? It's stopped right now, but when we want it, we can start it. Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so we are done with installing. Let's go back and check our documentation. What does it tell us to do next, right? So that's all about installing. Then configure the proxy for your primary authenticator, right? Because in the diagram I showed you that you need to tell the proxy where your primary authenticator is, which is your Active Directory, or you can even use LDAP here as well, right? You can use different approaches and that's what we are going to define, right? So what you have to do is basically go down to the directory where your proxy got installed, right? In a 32-bit machine, this is where it gets installed. So you go to C drive, you can go to program files, and there you go, right? DUO Security Authentication Proxy. You can go there. Then you will have a folder called, I think it's conf. Yeah, you will have to go inside conf folder. So here, so this is the file, right? So let's open this in probably WordPad or something, right? So let's do that. So let's do, right? So let's do, or maybe let's open it again. So let's go to C drive. Let's go here. It's program files. Go inside here, conf. Let's say all files, select, open. Okay, so this is what you get like by default, right? So you get like a configuration file. So you'll have to put stuff inside this configuration file. Now there are two sections which are important. Let's actually scroll down to the bottom where they have written down the whole thing. So the top part is basically you will have the proxy for your primary authentication, and then you'll also have to set up your proxy for the SSL VPN for your MFA as well, right? So again, I'm not going to explain all this different parameters here, but let me scroll down to the complete bottom, because here they have given you a complete what they say. They have given you the complete configuration which has to go in, right? 1 sec, right? So the complete configuration is actually provided down here. So we could actually take the whole thing, or what you could also do is probably go down to this documentation. You can remove all this. It's actually like comment section. You can even retain them. It's not going to cause problem, but let's just remove it, right? Let's probably pull it up. Give me a second. Yeah, so that's good. Let's also remove this section. This looks unwanted. Okay, so this is what we have. So now we need to put in the values. So for AD client host, right, we need to mention where your Active Directory is. In my case, it is 192.168.2.200. That's the Active Directory. Let me show you my Active Directory, right? This is my Active Directory. So in my Active Directory, what I have, nothing very complicated. I have just created one Active Directory. I have created an Active Directory in my domain called bitsplease.com, right? Because that information is important. You need to tell your authentication proxy what your domain is, right? So it's going to be bitsplease.com. And user, so I've created a user called Joel, right? I've created a user called Joel, and I've added this user, I think, into a security group called demo, right? I'm not going to explain the Active Directory part. That's pretty straightforward, right? But yeah, just created one user, added it to the group called demo. That's it. Nothing else is there in my Active Directory. All right, so let's go back to the details. So we are putting the IP address of your Active Directory. Then what? The account name. So what is the service account with your Active Directory? So remember when we were trying to integrate Active Directory with your ICE, right? We had to have an account, right, using which you can attach that particular domain, or you can connect the Active Directory, and that's what we are going to do here, right? So hope the spelling is correct. Administrator. Okay, that's good. So that's the username for the using which that's the username is kind of like the admin of your Active Directory. The password is something like, I think, Cisco at 2021, I believe. Yeah, that looks good. Then you have the search domain. So here you need to mention, right? The DC value will be nothing but bits, please, right? And the other one will be, give me 1 second. All right, so I'm back. Okay, so we were putting the search domain, right? And DC, right? The domain component is important, right? And that's nothing but bits, please. and what is the other domain component which needs to go in, which is com, right? Okay, there shouldn't be any space, so let's remove the space. Okay, there you go. So it's bitsplace.com, that's my domain name, so that's why this is going to be the domain component. What else? So the next part is very important. So what we have done right now is the primary authentication, right? On the authentication proxy, I have mentioned the primary authentication details, right? And this, now the part below is nothing but your Radius server, right? Earlier we did it via LDAP, that is ASA was talking to the Duo cloud using LDAP, but now we are going to do it using what? Using we are going to do it using your Radius, right? So we need to put in that detail. So let's go back here, and just like we did in the previous video, right, we went to the applications, right, and we said protect the application, and last time what we did, we put in ASA here and we selected this guy, right? So we selected this guy because that's we were trying to protect using LDAP, but this time we want to protect so using Radius, so Radius VPN, right? So you have to click on this protect here, right? And that's when you do that, right? I've already clicked on it, so it basically will appear under applications, right? And you can click on that, right? And here you get all the information about all your credentials, just like in the previous one, right? Very similar to that. So now you would need the details out of this. Like for example, let's pick the integration key. Let's pick this guy. So the integration key will go here first. So let's paste it, right? Let's go back here. The next is you would need the secret, right? Let's copy this one. Again, you can't use these in your lab because I would be deleting this application as soon as, you know, I finish recording. But yeah, Duo is pretty much free for 30 days, I believe. You can take the trial version and you can try all of these cool things, or you can even reach out to your Cisco representative, you know, if you want to try the product. All right, so that being said, so the API hostname, right? The next is the API hostname. So let's grab that. So you're gonna put that, right? So this API host. So basically, you put in all the three details from there. The next is you need the Radius IP. So this Radius IP, I believe, let's go back and check. I've forgotten. I think it's the IP address of the ASA. One sec. Give me a second. Right. So this is basically going to be the Radius IP1. You see here, it is nothing but the IP address of your Cisco ASA SSL VPN, right? So that's going to be the IP address with which we can reach our ASA, which is 192.168.2.1. Okay, we are good till now. Then we can create a secret, right? We say Cisco. We'll have to use this secret when we configure it on the ASA side as well. And the rest, everything looks good, right? So we are gonna say Control yes on this one, right? Save it. So we're gonna close that guy because we are done with him. Let's go back to the steps now. So we are done with all this stuff, right? We are done with here. We can start the authentication proxy. So that's how you started. So let's go to a command prompt, right? We're gonna say net start and we'll say duo auth, sorry, hope the spelling's right, proxy, right? So that's how you start. Let's wait for a second. Okay, there you go, it's starting. You can also validate it. You can go to your you know, services and you can see it is running now, right? So so the authentication proxy is running. Okay, so just to be sure, if you probably did not figure that out yet, my authentication proxy is running on this management PC, right? So all the requests, all the authentication requests will be sent to the auth proxy, which is on my management PC, which will then reach out to the AD for my primary authentication, and then it will reach out to the Duo cloud via, you know, through the internet, right? It will reach out to the Duo cloud for the secondary authentication, right? That's the flow. Anyway, let's come back. So we have started the authentication proxy. Now the last step involved is going to my ASA and configuring it, right? So going to the ASA, let's do that. So in ASA, where is my ASA? Here. Okay, so that's my ASA. In my ASA, let's go to configuration. Let's go to remote VPN. Let's go to AAA. Let's go to server groups. Okay, this is what we have from the previous video, right? These credentials are no longer valid because I've deleted the application on my Duo side. So anyway, so let's add a new one. I'm gonna say duo, but this time I'm gonna say radius, right? Let's say, okay, it's already selected for radius, which is fine, in which case I can just say okay, right? Now click on that guy, go below and add, right? So when you add here, in my case, my authentication proxy is reachable via the management interface. I'm going to use that. IP address of the management 192.168.2.100. So that's how I can reach my proxy. Timeout, let's increase it to 60. The ports, let's go with 1812 and 1813. These are your radius ports, right? Because we are reaching out to the proxy via radius. So 1812, 1813. And the seconds, okay, the timeout retry, sorry, keep it 10, it's fine. This is where the secret goes in, which is Cisco, right? We kind of use Cisco in that configuration, so we are going to stick to that. And you can probably uncheck this Microsoft Chapter version 2, and I think we are good. So let's say okay here, right? Let's apply this guy. All right, so that's good. Now what do we do next? All right, so I've connected my phone right now, right, to the laptop, which means we should be good to do some testing. So let's grab this guy. Let's put him on this side here. Hope this is visible. Okay, I think that's better. So I'm gonna grab my phone from here and I'm gonna paste it here. So let's test this. So I'm gonna say test, right? Authentication. Let's put Joel. And what is the primary authentication, right? So the password is Cisco at it's let's put in again, Cisco at 2021, I believe. Hope I got that right. Let's try that again. Okay, there you go, right? So we have got the proxy, we have got the authentication. You saw that, right, on the right side? If you want, we could try it once again. So what am I entering here? I'm putting in my username, this is Joel, and my password as it is mentioned in my Active Directory over here, right? Where is it? Over here in my Active Directory, I have used the password for Joel, which is, what is it? It is Cisco at 2021. So I'm going to use that, Cisco at 2021, okay? And I'm going to press OK. So what it is doing is it's doing the primary authentication, and then because that is succeeding, it is then giving me an option to kind of, okay, let me just go down directly here and approve it. Okay, cool. So we can grab my phone and bring him to the left side here. So we are good there. Okay, so that's, we have tested the authentication part. So now I think we are good to then use this authentication inside our VPN, isn't it? So let's go back to, increase the size of this guy. So once we have done with this, we can go to our connection profiles, right? Where is our connection profiles? Give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So we'll go to network client access right here, and we'll go to the Anyconnect connection profile. I think it's somewhere here. Okay. Looks like my laptop is a bit hanging, so give me a second. Okay, I think we are good. Yeah, so we are in the connection profile page, so we will go and click on edit here. Okay. So actually, okay, let's actually not do anything on the client profile, my bad. On the connection profile, I think I had clicked on client profile. So on the connection profile, let's click on edit, right? In the basic section, let's go and for AAA, see here we had the local authentication turned on. We are going to switch it to radius, right? We are going to switch it to radius and make sure that you uncheck this if this is checked, right? Use local if the server group failed option. So uncheck that and we are good. So we're going to click on OK here and click on apply, right? You can even save it if you want to save the whole configuration. So there you go. So we are done with all of that. I think we should be good to now test it out, guys, right? let's get my phone back into the system. Give me a second. All right, so let's finish up the last part, right? So I've opened up my client here. Which is that client? Let me show you in the topology. This is the client, right? So I opened up the client. So we are good to go and connect, which is asa1.bitsplease.com, right? So we can go and click that. Okay, let's just check if our secondary authentication from the previous video has been turned off. Let's just double check that. I might have forgotten to do that. Let's double click. Let's go here, secondary authentication. Okay, so let's just select none here, because this is from the previous video. So let's do that. Let's apply. Okay, so that's good. So let's go back now. We'll say asa1.bitsplease.com. Let's say connect. Right, so let's say connect, and yeah, let's wait. Okay, so there you go. It's giving me the prompts. I'm going to use Cisco at 2021. I'm going to click OK. So that's there you go, right? So we've got the authentication. I'm going to approve it. Awesome. So I approved it. Now you can see the authentication is succeeding, right? My phone, I can remove my phone because I don't really want it anymore. There you go. The authentication is completed, guys. I mean, so it has allowed me inside. Let's quickly check if you are able to talk to the inside network 192.168.1.10, and there you go. The inside network being which one? We're able to talk to this particular server, which is inside in the network, right? So we have successfully kind of configured VPN, right? The Anyconnect VPN using obviously DUO, but this time we used the Radius, right? We did not use LDAP. Rather, we created, let's look at that, flow chart again, right? Because that's pretty simple. So if you scroll down to the bottom, here you go. So what we did was, let's actually open both of them if we can, so that we can compare this one from the previous one, right? So this is what we did in the previous one. Let's scroll to the bottom again. Okay, there should be a flow. Yeah, there you go, right? So this is what we did. We did not have our primary authentication. ASA was doing it directly, right? And then ASA was taking was then trying to reach out to the DUO cloud to do the secondary authentication. In our approach today, what we did was we added an authentication proxy in between, right? Which is obviously talking via Radius to ASA, right, to the ASA. But then this authentication proxy can then talk to a primary authentication. Now this one can be Radius or LDAP or whatever it is, right? You can define this. This can be Active Directory or whatever. I mean, this step number 3 here. So we added authentication proxy, and we talked to the Active Directory, or you can do it via Radius or whatever it is. We did the primary authentication, and then we did the MFA. We made the authentication proxy then talk to the MFA, which is cloud, which then sent out the push notification to my phone, right? Hope that was useful, guys. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.